The new Batman cartoon, Batman Caped Crusader, features an expansive roster of side characters, and that may have taken some viewers by surprise. Despite what some people claim, Batman is still the star of the show. He's in every episode, he resolves most of the situations, and when other characters are on screen, they are mostly talking about him. I guess they didn't watch Batman the Animated Series, given that the majority of episodes focused on the villain of the week, with Batman taking a side role. But that is a topic for another time. It probably shouldn't be too surprising that a number of the supporting cast were members of the Gotham City Police Department, given that the lead writer of the show, Ed Brubaker, was the co-creator of the critically acclaimed comic book series Gotham Central. One of the main characters from Gotham Central was Detective Renee Montoya, who was famously outed as a lesbian in the pages of the Half a Life storyline, published in 2003. However, the Montoya we saw in the mainline comics was quite different to her animated counterparts, and I talked about that in an earlier video which I have linked to in the info button in the top right corner. Check that out if you've got a moment. The comic book Montoya was a self-loathing lesbian, someone that had been disowned by her strict religious parents, became a violent alcoholic, and couldn't keep a relationship going. The version we saw in Caped Crusader was quite different. But before we get to that, here's a very quick summary of the origins of Renee Montoya. Renee Montoya was an original creation for Batman the Animated Series, like Harley Quinn and Baby Doll. Although she is distinct in that the creative team at DC Comics liked her character so much, they snuck her into the comics shortly before BTAS hit the air. Note that it would take over 5 years for Harley Quinn to appear in the mainline comics. Yet Montoya was there, bright and early and reporting for duty. While Montoya didn't really have a massive role in BTAS, she mostly served as a by-the-books cop that made some high-profile arrests. In the comic books, Montoya would become a mainstay of the GCPD and was partnered with Harvey Bullock for years. Montoya wouldn't get a significant storyline until the No Man's Land crossover in 1999, when Gotham City was struck by an earthquake and left in ruins, isolated by the US government. The people that remained in Gotham quickly formed gangs, many of which were headed by supervillains, and did their best to survive. The faction led by Commissioner Gordon formed an alliance with Two-Face's faction, but Two-Face took Montoya hostage as collateral. It was during this story that we'd meet the extended Montoya family, her parents and her brother Benny. After Gotham City was restored, Montoya became one of the lead detectives in the Major Crimes Unit, and her relationship with Daria Hernandez was exposed. And the gruff and grizzled GCPD officers were less than supportive. Renee Montoya would eventually adopt the identity of the Question, after the original Question, Vic Sage, passed away and bequeathed her the title. And in recent years, Montoya has taken the role of Commissioner of the GCPD following Jim Gordon's most recent retirement. Despite her position of authority and her massive responsibilities, Montoya has struggled with her anxiety and almost turned to drink again when her brother Benny and his fiancée were murdered. In the most recent comics at the time of uploading, Montoya lost her position as Commissioner and was replaced by Vandal Savage, but as the Question, she acts as the Justice League's head of security on their new watchtower. Alright, so with the comic book stuff out of the way, let's talk about Caped Crusader's Renee Montoya. We'll start by talking about her design. Her character model was designed by James Tucker, and one of the more refreshing things is that Montoya has less of a Bruce Timm style pin-up physique. She actually looks like a real woman with hips. Similarly, she mostly wears a two-piece pink suit, which is intended to symbolise her sexuality. Just look at the shades of pink on the lesbian flag. They're very similar to Montoya's suit. Now, I'm not saying that every woman wearing pink is a lesbian. I'm just saying that artists like to convey subtext through their character designs, and I'm pretty certain that was their intention. That's also why Harleen Quinzel wears a jacket that is the same colour. One of the most striking things about their version of Montoya is that she fulfills a similar role to Jim Gordon in the seminal comic book Year One. Caped Crusader is a similar story, set during the first few months of Batman's career, so perhaps the parallels shouldn't be all that surprising. In Year One, Gordon was the new member of the team who transferred from Chicago, while in Caped Crusader, Montoya had been promoted to the role of detective recently. She is the outsider in the room, while most of the other detectives pay her no mind. Her presence is a point of contention for Bullock and Flass. Year One's Gordon led the anti-Batman task force and tried to lure him in with fake crimes. And what does Caped Crusader's Montoya do? She's given control of the anti-Batman squad and tries to capture Batman by having her officers pretend to be criminals to lure him in. Where Year One's Gordon had to struggle working with the corrupt officials who begrudgingly gave him important tasks because of his popularity with the press, Caped Crusader's Gordon states that he took a chance on promoting Montoya to the role of detective in an effort to change the place as they work together in the face of corruption. They never explicitly say why promoting her was risky. Perhaps she's the first female detective, or the first Hispanic detective, or maybe the first queer detective. We're never told, but you can fill in the blanks yourself. While the comic book Montoya struggled with her own identity, so much so that she adopted a costume with a blank face, which was pretty psychologically revealing, Caped Crusader's Montoya is generally confident and sure of herself. She does doubt herself after she discovers that the prime suspect in her first big case, the kidnapping of a movie star named Yvonne Francis, turns up dead. Montoya redoubles her efforts and solves the case, mostly on her own, but with a hefty assist from Batman right at the end. That episode, and Be a Villain, is really the only one where Montoya features in a starring role. It's the episode that introduces us to her, so kinda makes sense. When we first see her, she's interrogating Bruce Wayne. He was the last person to see Yvonne before she went missing, and Batman tests her by trying to see if she'd be willing to take a bribe. Montoya clearly dislikes Wayne and makes it very clear that she has no intention of taking his money. All she wants from him is information, which he gladly gives to her once he realizes that she's not corrupt. Also note that his Bruce Wayne facade slips briefly, indicating a level of comfort with her once he knows she's not on the take. He places a bug on Montoya's oversized coat, and look at what a unit it transforms her into, and tells Alfred that she could be a useful tool in his war on crime. I should note that this episode was written by Greg Rucka, the writer of Montoya's Half a Life storyline in Gotham Central, and this acts as a way for Rucka to redefine the character as a capable and confident officer with no hints of alcoholism or self-loathing. One substantial change that some longtime fans may find hard to swallow is Bullock's antagonism towards her. While they weren't partners in BTAS, they did work together, and in the comic books they spent the better part of a decade as partners. Bullock instead is partners with Detective Flass, and they are both utterly corrupt. Again, I talked about this in a separate video, which I've linked to in the info button above, and it'll also be in the description, so go check that out if the subject interests you. But after this video, please. When Montoya calls for backup when investigating Basil Karlo, Bullock and Flass respond saying they'll be right there, but then switch off their radios and continue eating their sandwiches, leaving Montoya to her fate. She could very well have been killed by Karlo, and very nearly was, but they only arrived after the situation had been dealt with. This big break gives Gordon the confidence to entrust the Batman strike team to her, and she formulates a strategy to bring him in. However, they soon learn that the Batman has been breaking into the control center at night and reading all their files, giving him an advantage over them. While other officers like Bullock and Flass suggest resorting to violence in the face of adversity, unleash the strike team on the poor, they're bound to know something, Montoya calls in a psychologist to give the team a profile of Batman, Dr. Harleen Quinzel. Dr. Quinzel is pretty much the exact opposite of Montoya. She's bright and bubbly with a wicked sense of humour, and is incredibly confident. The two hit it off almost immediately. Harley invites Montoya out for dinner, and the two go on a date. And it's very matter of fact, there's no anguish, no concern about what other people might think, just two people that are attracted to each other, and they share a single kiss in public. And nobody makes a big deal out of it. Some will be quick to foam at the mouth about historical accuracy, I assume they've never heard of Greta Garbo, but I ask if they feel the same way about the bulletproof rocket-powered Batmobile, Catwoman's electrified knuckle dusters, and Basil Karlo's face-altering serum. Or is realism only an issue when it comes to inclusivity? I don't know about the rest of you, but there's already too much hatred and bigotry in the real world. I don't need to see it in my Batman cartoons as well. Yes, I can see the storytelling opportunities that they could have taken if they had attempted to tackle racism and homophobia, but Caped Crusader is not that kind of show. Anyway, that point aside, Harley and Montoya's romance wouldn't amount to anything. After Harleen's scheme as Harley Quinn was uncovered, she was forced to leave town and left Montoya waiting. Note that their doomed date took place at the club named after painter Edward Hopper, whose famous work, Nighthawks, was referenced in Year One when James Gordon and Sarah Essen began their romance. Oh, that Montoya, she just can't escape Jim's shadow. We don't actually learn very much about Montoya's life outside of work. In the episode Moving Target, she drops a small hint as to her background when she chastises Barbara Gordon for being from outside of Gotham, and for being one of those people that refuses to live among the filth and the crime to try and make it better. Her tone implies that she is someone that has lived in Gotham her entire life, and that she wants to improve the place. Her loyalty to the Commissioner is unending, as seen when she follows him into a burning building to rescue police officers and civilians, when she protects him from Onomatopoeia's henchmen, and when she joins him in defending the disfigured district attorney from Rupert Thorne's men. Her loyalty is unwavering, and she never questions her boss. When it comes to the character of Renee Montoya and the fact that Caped Crusader was intended to be watched by a slightly older audience, they could very easily have leaned into the tropes of a queer police officer, hard drinking, self-loathing, and incapable of having healthy relationships. But they took the opportunity to rework the character and have her become one of the most reliable and capable officers in the GCPD. Commissioner Gordon said that he promoted Montoya as part of his strategy to change the police department, to root out the corruption and the ineptitude. And this version of Renee Montoya was completely up to that task. Okay, that's it for this video essay. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd like to hear more about Batman Caped Crusader, why not check out our podcast Totally Shui Flipside, where my wife and I have gone through all 10 episodes. This is a spoiler-filled conversation about each episode in sequential order, so only check this out if you've watched the show or if you have no intentions of ever watching it yourself. I offer channel memberships for $1.99 a month, which will grant you early access to my video essays, and some supplementary perks like custom emojis, priority responses to your comments, members-only videos, and community posts. And special thanks to my current channel members, who are all listed on the screen right now. Next time I'm going to talk about Gotham City's top cop, the figure of authority himself, Commissioner James Gordon, and his struggles to clean up a completely corrupt police department from the top down. Hope to see you then.